Imagine setting up a business, setting up funnels and products and services you sell through webinars for your local market, where 98% of marketers are ignoring, avoiding, especially in your local language. Whew. It's like taking candy from a baby.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
What's up, you crazy fighting entrepreneurs? Welcome back to yet another episode of The Fighting Entrepreneur, and this is our TLDL episode. This is because you are too lazy and you didn't listen, that I will give you a summary of my amazing interview with Miss Krystel Romero. I can't say it like she does with her accent, but it was an awesome interview. The topic of it was how to build, we talked about how to build a funnel agency, outside of the top 5 countries. She lives in Colombia. And so really her advice and her experience and her story applies to basically building any kind of agency, or maybe any kind of agency where you help other people that are local, like local marketing in countries outside of the top 5. And I don't even know where to start because the interview was amazing. First and foremost, just to hear her story. She talks about this one point where she actually says that so her whole story is about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, she was completely, she had a good job, she was doing well, and then one day she's like, I hate this. Like, by Colombian standards, she was making good money. All right, so average Colombian salary is between $1,000 and $1,500 a month, US dollars. She was making like $2,200 US dollars a month, so she was doing way above average. But one day she's just like, I don't see my kids enough, I don't like my life, I don't want to work in this life, and she just like quit her job out of the blue. No business, nothing, didn't even know how to start a business, just quit her job. Now, she doesn't recommend you do that. She specifically says it put her in a really, really tough spot. But after that, she got to a place in her life where she had to start skipping meals because she didn't have enough money to buy food for her children. She had 2 kids. She didn't have money for diapers. And this woman, man, she is so determined, persistent, and such an ambitious person that she found a way to get to the U.S., to get to our Lurn Masters event. This is a couple years ago, and that is not an inexpensive event, okay? That takes a significant investment, not to mention the flight, the hotel. She just found a way. She just did it, got here. I remember the first event she was here at. And she said the event completely transformed her life, something we hear from lots of students, by the way, and so awesome to hear. Lurn Masters, by the way, you got to get to it. It's got to be on your list to be in this event. I can't explain it. People say, what happens there? I can't explain it. Just trust me, okay? If you trust me, you'll find a way to get to the event. It's something you only understand when you're done with it. It completely transforms people. And the amount of 6- and 7-figure success stories out of that event are ridiculous. So anyway, so she comes and she goes home and she starts building up her email business and she starts building up her Facebook profile. She gets 150,000 followers in 6 months on Facebook. She builds an email business, starts getting affiliate income, but still not enough. And then all of a sudden, people start taking notice that she's doing this, and some people start asking her questions. Now, she talks about how she had built a network in the personal development industry. So one of the things that I really took away is it reestablished in my mind how powerful it is to make sure you're always going to events and meeting people at these events and adding them to your Facebook, friend list, Instagram, following them, getting their email, getting their phone number, not the speakers, but even the audience. So over years, without even knowing it, and she calls herself a big-time introvert. Now, because she's one of our top students, I've actually done this whole psychological study on her, and I can tell you she is a big introvert. That's her personality. Even I'm a big introvert. Most people would never believe that. But man, she had a network. She would go to events. She said she would do what's needed to be done. So she would meet people, shake hands. So all this time before, while she was working, she would just be at personal development events in Colombia, and she would meet people. And so these people are on her Facebook. They're friends. They're in her network. And then she all of a sudden starts posting stuff about business and her opt-in page, and they start noticing and they want to know. And before she even knows it, someone actually hounds her down and offers to pay her $5,000 in April of 2018 if she could build them a funnel. And that was how her funnel, and she didn't even want to do it. She was like, finally I went and met the guy and I asked him some questions, and he was so blown away by how good my questions were. And she goes over what the questions were. It was stuff like, who's your target market? How come your website doesn't have any social proof? Who built this website? Do you have client testimonials? Yada, yada, yada. And he's like, whoa. This is the level, by the way. If you're building an agency outside of the top 5 countries, the knowledge she shares this, by the way, the knowledge that people have is so minimal that her words, she said, I knew enough to get started. I didn't know a lot, but I knew enough. And enough in those countries, and a lot of these countries, is like advanced level knowledge. So if you're listening to this podcast regularly, you already know so much more than 99% of people that live in these countries. And we're talking about most countries in Latin America, countries like Singapore, Malaysia, India, UAE, Pakistan, all like don't get me started, like a lot of European countries, and then you got South Africa and other countries in Africa. It's just, there's so many places you can go where people just you don't have the competition, and people don't have the knowledge, and they're hungry for it. These economies are booming, and people are investing. The entrepreneurship spirit in these countries is huge, and they want help, and you could be there to provide that help. You don't have to serve the Western world to be able to make a lot of money. So she gets her first client, and then from there, before she knows it, more people are wanting to work with her, more people are contacting her, and she hasn't done any marketing for this. She's not out there on LinkedIn. She's not out there pitching people. She just posts stuff on her personal Facebook, like, here's a funnel, here's what this is, here's what I learned, and people are blown away, and then immediately ask her, can you help me? Boom. So no pitch, because she's getting asked, right? And here's the crazy part. She talks about what advertising costs are in places like Latin American countries and others, and I can vouch for this to a degree, because we do advertise in other countries, but we advertise in English. When she advertises in Spanish, I was blown away. Because one of the biggest reasons I do this podcast is to learn about like what I need to do and what Lurn needs to do to grow and to scale and to expand. And she said that she, in Spanish, can get 20-cent leads. Now, these are not bad leads, because people in Colombia are making money. She talks about how her clients that she helps set up funnels for, they're selling $4,000 or $5,000 products to local market. So products are being bought for thousands of dollars left and right, but leads are 20 cents. She gets webinar registrations for her clients for 80 cents to $1, who are eventually going to buy $5,000 products. This is amazing. So forget, even if you don't want to do client business, imagine setting up a business, setting up funnels and products and services you sell through webinars for your local market, where 98% of marketers are ignoring, avoiding, especially in your local language. Whew. It's like taking candy from a baby. I don't know why people say that, because if you've ever tried taking candy from a baby, it's actually not easy. But anyways, you know the spirit with which I say that. So she talks about her funnel. The funnel that she likes to build for her existing clients is what we call the PLF funnel, thanks to Jeff Walker, right? Video 1, video 2, video 3, webinar. That's it. Video 1, video 2, video 3, webinar. Now, one big thing that she talks about is she doesn't like to work with startups or new people who are just dreaming of starting a business. She likes to work with existing business owners. I can definitely vouch for that. If you're going to do consulting or coaching, please up level the type of client you work for. You could charge double, triple, quadruple. Plus, the bigger reason, they're less headache. They do what you say. They're not afraid to invest. They're not afraid to take action. They're problem solvers. And when you deal with someone who's a brand new entrepreneur, they're great to sell courses to and content to, so that they can get to the point where they could be your client. But as clients, they're not the best, because they challenge you on every side. They're scared. They're afraid. Now, I vouch for this too, right? I love all of our students, and 98% of students that Lurn are beginners. They're just starting their online businesses. So I love teaching. I love coaching, but I do it in the masses, right? I sell courses. Never will I sell consulting to them. Consulting is, for me, if I ever take on any business, I don't have time, but if I do, it's reserved only for people that are vetted entrepreneurs, doing business, have a revenue that I can just go in and help scale. So she really echoes that. Even in the beginning of her business now, she's not catering consulting services to the newbies, as we would call them. So we talked about the kind of funnels that she does. We talked about her story, which was so touching, and how much time she's spending with her kids now, and how she's getting to control completely her life and her decisions and her time. She's making between $4,000 to $6,000 USD in Colombia, which again is up to triple what she was earning at a high-paying job. That's huge, right? And controlling her own time. She really talked about the benefits of building a business in countries outside of the top 5, US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and doing it in countries where, it's just easier. It's easier to get clients. It's cheaper to advertise. They pay about the same, and there's just no competition. That's awesome, right? So it was really inspirational to hear that. We talked also about her pricing strategy. She said how she's definitely underpricing. Her first client, she would charge like $1,000 to $2,000 a month. That's it. And she said she kind of basically became like an employee, and so she didn't like that. So now she's charging $2,000 a month plus 10% of all online revenues generated by client. So typically her clients are coaches and trainers. That's like her sweet spot. She likes to find people that are already traveling and doing events and teaching and coaching. She likes to go to them because they already have content, they already have customers, they already invest, they make enough money, they're serious, they're entrepreneurs. So she goes to them, and right now she already said her prices have to go up because she thinks she's charging too little. So she's going to go up. She's probably going to charge a higher percentage of online revenues. She gave an example of one advertising agency in Colombia that charges $1,500 a month plus, are you ready for this? 40% of online revenue, 40%. And nuts. Plus the client has to pay for their own ads. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. So she's got massive room for growth. And this is the other benefit of building this kind of business. Listen, if you know another language, even if you don't live in that country, if you know another language, you need to monetize that. You need to capitalize on that. Your competition is literally 90%, 95% less. Is so much opportunity if you know another language. Even if you don't know another language, get creative. Maybe you should partner up or sync up with someone who does, and provide the operational support while they be the face of it and they go out and do all the talking. And man, there's just so much opportunity. So for me, my big takeaway for Lurn is, man, we can't wait too long. We got to get into these other countries, into these other languages one of these days soon, because there's massive numbers of people that need help. They're hungrier, they're more ambitious, and there's a lot less competition. And the pricing is almost the same. But for me, of course, at Lurn, we're going to need to find people that know these languages and then bring them in as brand ambassadors for those languages. So that's really got me thinking. I know I definitely want to do more on that. It was a really, really powerful episode. If you missed it, I really suggest you go back. It's the episode right before this one where we do the full interview. It's about an hour with her, tell her whole story. She talks about how she finds clients, how she prices, how she sells, what services she does, and just all the lessons that she's currently learning, and how even talks about numbers of advertising and like how much she's paying. It's just tremendous stuff. All right, so come on, fighting entrepreneurs. What's it going to be? Go back and listen to the full episode. If you want show notes, go to anikpodcast.com. All right, if you're watching on YouTube, come on, click subscribe, click the little bell icon, click the thumbs up icon, and leave me a comment below. I read them all and I respond to many of them. A lot of times laying around late at night when I'm ready to go to bed. So I read them all though, okay? So go ahead and leave me a comment. And as I always say, fighting entrepreneurs, when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. This is Anik Singal, and I will see you on the next episode of The Fighting Entrepreneur.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.